Your justice will come when you burn in hell for all eternity for murdering 4 innocent children. You are a monster. You are a devil in disguise.
You knew he would give you anything. Son's life is worth more than 48 months. If it was your child, would you accept 48 months?
Attorney Marco Bisbikis has been identified as the mastermind behind a carefully orchestrated murder-for-hire plot that led to the tragic death of renowned jeweler Daniel Hutchinson, known as Hutch. Authorities allege that Bisbikis meticulously planned the crime, offering financial incentives to those involved in carrying out the act.
His role in this was to encourage it, to plan it, to offer compensation for the people that would do this.
The incident took place when Hutchinson and his wife, Marissa, were en route to Bisbikis' office in Oak Park. As they drove through the area, their SUV was ambushed and attacked. Prosecutors claim that the gunman, Roy Larry, was hired to target both Hutchinson and his wife. While Daniel Hutchinson was fatally wounded, Marissa survived the ordeal. During the investigation, law enforcement uncovered critical evidence, including cell phone records that allegedly showed Bisbikis contacting one of the suspects, Darnell Larry, on the day of the incident.
On the day of the homicide, Mr. Bisbikis contacted Darnell Larry and told him that the Hutchinsons were going to be at Mr. Bisbikis' office, and that they could not make it past 10 miles.
Prosecutors argue that Bisbikis' motive was financial, pointing to claims that he had written himself into the Hutchinsons' will, intending to secure a substantial inheritance.
We believe that Marissa Hutchinson is still in danger. We believe that Mr. Darnell Larry is in danger. We believe that there's a lot of danger involved, and if Mr. Bisbikis is allowed to go outside of the jail setting, I don't know what he would do.
Prosecutors argued for no bond, and the judge agreed. In an unexpected turn during court proceedings, Roy Larry directly addressed the judge, asserting his desire to prove his innocence.
I've been sitting here patiently, hoping the court give me my opportunity to fight for my life like I'm doing now.
Initially implicated alongside Bisbikis and accused of involvement in the plot, Raptoplaus chose to cooperate with authorities. He testified against Bisbikis, providing detailed accounts of the planning and execution of the crime. In exchange for his cooperation, Raptoplaus pleaded guilty to 1 count of solicitation to commit murder and is currently awaiting sentencing. Marco Bisbikis and Roy Larry were found guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and related charges. In June 2024, they were each sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, bringing some measure of closure to Hutchinson's grieving family and the community. In April 2021, Rashan Seabberry was involved in an incident near 5th and Melvina Streets in Milwaukee. Authorities reported that Seabberry fired a weapon from the sunroof of a moving vehicle, leading to the tragic loss of 26-year-old Jasmine Brown. He was initially held on a $30,000 cash bond following his arrest. However, due to difficulties in securing key witnesses, prosecutors faced delays in moving the case to trial. In response to a request for a speedy trial, a Milwaukee County judge converted Seabberry's bond to a $30,000 signature bond in March 2022, allowing him to be released under house arrest with GPS monitoring.
Mr. Seabberry was out on bail for another homicide charge that had a pending speeding trial that we could not meet, so his bail on that case was reduced.
Less than a month after his release, in May 2022, Seabberry became involved in another incident near Long Island Drive and Custer Avenue. A group of individuals, including 19-year-old Camiona Funches, arrived at a residence for a graduation celebration. Seabberry and 2 others, Omarion McNeely and Dylann Bridges, mistook their vehicle for a potential threat and fired multiple shots. Tragically, Funches lost her life and another woman sustained injuries.
To hurt somebody else? This hurt me to the core.
The incident has deeply affected the victims' families.
Let's go get my bike.
Without this little girl right here, she keep me going.
Trinity is a source of strength for Jasmine's parents, who see so much of their late daughter, Jasmine Brown, in her. Trinity's sweet spirit reminds them of her.
She just got a sweet spirit, just like my daughter.
Jasmine Brown's family expressed frustration over Seabberry's release, believing he should not have been out of custody in the first place.
I'm glad he got caught,
But I'm sad that he had to do something else like that to get put back in jail.
I feel sorry for him, I pray for him, but I just want justice for my daughter. I need peace.
As a result of these events, Seabberry faced several charges, including first-degree reckless homicide for the April 2021 incident and additional charges of reckless endangerment related to the May 2022 event. In early 2023, he pleaded guilty to charges of first-degree reckless homicide, second-degree reckless homicide, and multiple counts of reckless endangerment. In March 2023, the court sentenced Seabberry to 52 years in prison, followed by 19 years of supervised release. Luke Rue, a basketball and hockey player, was tragically struck and killed by Jacob Coffey in Farmington's Five Corners section. Luke had recently graduated from Farmington High School and had played one of his best baseball games that night against New Britain before the accident occurred. He grew up in a close-knit neighborhood with friends who became like extended family, and his quiet leadership and warm personality left a lasting impact on those around him. On the night of the incident, Coffey, then 21 years old, had been drinking after attending a concert. Prosecutors revealed that he ran a red light that had been active for 18 seconds before the crash. The impact of the loss reverberated through the community, with parents and neighbors expressing their grief over the void left by Luke's passing. Many of his friends struggled to cope, with some even leaving college due to the emotional toll.
The result of Jacob Coffey's decisions that night has left us with a loss that's simply unimaginable. The pain and sorrow that I experience every second, every minute of every day is never ending.
During the court proceedings, Luke's family spoke about the immense sorrow they face daily, calling his absence an unbearable loss.
I know it doesn't change anything, but from the bottom of my heart, I'm truly so sorry.
Coffey, expressing deep remorse, apologized to the family, acknowledging the irreversible harm his actions had caused. The judge sentenced Coffey to 15 years in prison, with eligibility for release after serving 5 years, followed by 5 years of probation. Luke's parents, while heartbroken, hope that the sentencing will serve as a reminder of the serious consequences of reckless decisions and prevent similar tragedies in the future. Pamela Cabriales, a loving mother and valued member of the community, tragically lost her life following an incident at a traffic light in Denver. In 2021, when the incident occurred, Remy Cordova was accused of being involved in actions that led to Cabriales sustaining fatal injuries. According to authorities, the incident followed a minor fender bender involving the vehicle Cordova was in. Cabriales was transported to the hospital in critical condition, where she remained under medical care for several days before passing away. The heartbreaking impact of her absence was felt deeply by her family, especially her son, who expressed his sorrow and confusion in the wake of losing his mother.
Both my son and I have gone through all grievance stages. What do you do when your child asks you, who's going to take care of me if you die, Daddy? I'm sad because I don't want to lose you. I remember going to this place with my mommy before she died.
Throughout the trial, Cordova maintained his innocence, addressing Cabriales' family directly in court, expressing sympathy for their pain, while insisting that he could not take responsibility for something he claimed he did not do.
Y'all really know I feel for y'all, and I understand completely, and I'm terribly sorry for the pain that you guys feel. But I cannot take responsibility for something that I did not do.
After a thorough legal process, the court found Cordova guilty of 3 counts related to the case. During sentencing, the judge handed down a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 40 years. In May 2022, former University of Oklahoma football player Devontto Lampkin was found deceased in a short-term rental in downtown Dallas. Authorities later determined that he was the victim of a planned robbery orchestrated by Antoine Franklin, along with 2 other individuals. Investigators revealed that Franklin believed Lampkin had a backpack containing a large sum of money and valuables.
What do you think's gonna happen? When you tell somebody there's a backpack of $20,000 and possibly weed.
In the lead up to the incident, Franklin exchanged messages with his co-defendant, Eric Garcia, discussing the plan. Surveillance footage from the apartment complex showed two individuals entering the building and waiting in a stairwell for Lampkin to arrive. Shortly after, they were seen leaving with the backpack.
I was threatened, so I just planned to help the dude Eric in a way of no one getting hurt.
Franklin, when testifying in court, claimed he participated in the crime because he was pressured and feared for his safety due to debts owed to Garcia. Despite his claims, the jury was not convinced.
For 952 days, I have suffered.
You knew he would give you anything if you asked. Because he had a heart of gold, but you took that.
During the sentencing, Lampkin's family addressed Franklin, expressing their grief and the profound impact of the loss. They described Lampkin as a kind and generous person who was always willing to help others.
He ruined his family and my family's life, and he has to live with that for the rest of his life. If you were a friend of Devontae's, he would do anything for you.
Yeah, I can see justice.
Some closure?
Yeah, a whole lot of closure.
The trial for Franklin concluded when the jury found him guilty of capital murder. Following deliberations, he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In December 2024, Garcia accepted a plea deal and was sentenced to 28 years in prison. Zachary Paulison was sentenced in Douglas County Court for causing a fatal crash that took the lives of Sarah Zimmerman, her unborn son, and her best friend, Amanda Shoup. The incident, which occurred in March of the previous year, was described by prosecutors as one of the most severe drunk driving cases in recent memory. On the night of the crash, Paulison had consumed a significant amount of alcohol and refused a ride home. Shortly after, he collided with an SUV at a high speed. Authorities reported that his blood alcohol level was twice the legal limit. Sarah Zimmerman, a corrections officer, was 37 years old and 8 months pregnant, while Amanda Shoup was 38. Their sudden loss deeply affected their families and the community.
The family bond has been shaken, and we are one less.
Zimmerman's mother recalled the devastating moment she received the news, expecting to hear about the birth of her grandson, but instead learning of her daughter's passing.
And Your Honor, we've received a life sentence already. They had a difficult time telling us that they would need dental records to identify my daughter. No mom should ever have to hear that.
Zimmerman's husband expressed that Sarah would have wanted to give Paulison a second chance.
She would look at the good in the person. She would not look at this Mr. Paulison and say, throw him away, lock the keys.
Paulison expressed remorse in court, acknowledging the impact of his actions and stating that he is not the same person he was before the incident.
But please know that I'm truly sorry for my actions. I'm not the same person I was prior to the accident.
The judge sentenced him to more than 30 years in prison with eligibility for parole after serving at least 16 years. The courtroom was filled with emotion as families sought justice and closure. The family of Josiah Oakley continues to grieve and express their disappointment following the tragic crash that claimed Oakley's life. Oakley, a 22-year-old aspiring young man, was remembered for his love of chess, sports, and his budding career at UPS. His life was cut short when Sylvester Vaughn, driving at nearly 90 miles per hour with a blood alcohol level nearly 3 times the legal limit, ran a red light and struck Oakley's vehicle.
How does someone get to operate a motor vehicle after consuming 3 times the legal limit with no license, blow through a red light, kill someone, and return to their life as normal in less time than it takes a teenager to complete high school?
Despite having no valid driver's license at the time of the accident, Vaughn reached a plea agreement with prosecutors, pleading guilty to 1 count of criminal vehicular homicide in exchange for the dismissal of a second charge.
Every day has been tough since you were taken away from us. Not one day goes by, sweetie, I don't think about what happened to you.
Oakley's family found the legal outcome deeply inadequate, arguing that it failed to reflect the severity of the crime. They questioned how someone could take a life and face such a short incarceration period.
Son's life is worth more than 48 months. If it was your child, would you accept 48 months? We cannot continue as a society to stick our heads in the sand and allow more innocent people to die.
Determined to seek justice beyond the courtroom, they have vowed to push for stronger penalties for DUI offenses. They hope to bring about legislative changes to prevent similar tragedies and ensure that offenders face more substantial consequences.
If you ask me, I'm serving a life sentence without you. And how fair is that?
During the sentencing, Vaughn expressed remorse and apologized to the family, but their grief and frustration remained. He was sentenced to 4 years in prison, with the possibility of release in approximately 2.5 years. On a fateful night, CJ Hackett was riding his electric scooter on McLean Avenue in Yonkers when he was struck by a vehicle driven by 47-year-old Yonkers city worker Stephen Dylann. Dylann, who had consumed drinks that evening, fled the scene, leaving CJ critically injured.
When CJ's face and head slammed into your windshield, I'm pretty sure you knew exactly what you had just done.
Following the tragic incident, Dylann was arrested and charged with manslaughter and other related offenses. He later pleaded guilty, which spared CJ's family from enduring a lengthy trial.
It is a pain that will never go away. We hope every time you close your eyes, that day haunts you, and the guilt of leaving a young, good boy to die weighs on you.
In the White Plains courtroom, CJ's family confronted the harsh reality of their loss. His aunt voiced their heartbreak, stating that their lives would never be the same without him. Dylann, a father of 3, addressed the court with remorse, acknowledging his actions and expressing deep regret. He vowed to spend the rest of his life trying to make amends for the suffering he had caused.
I deserve prison time for the actions, and I will spend my days and nights thinking about the suffering I've caused. I will spend the rest of my life trying to make amends. I'm sorry.
Many of CJ's friends from Archbishop Stepanak High School attended the sentencing, including Ryan Haru, who shared that CJ remains in their prayers and thoughts.
Remember him every day. We had prayers about him. He's always in our prayers. So.
Despite the immense sorrow, CJ's family found some solace in knowing that his organs were donated, bringing hope to others in need.
You were given a plea deal of 1.5 to 4.5 years. We were given a life sentence without CJ. Our holidays, birthdays, family gatherings will never be the same.
During the sentencing, Judge James McCarty considered Dylann's guilty plea and sentenced him to 1.5 to 4.5 years in prison. Ryan Borgwardt, a husband and father of 3 from Watertown, Wisconsin, orchestrated an elaborate plan to fake his own drowning after a kayak ride on Green Lake. According to investigators, he had meticulously researched cases of individuals who had successfully disappeared and analyzed other lake-related deaths. On the day of his disappearance, he attended church before embarking on his plan, which involved abandoning his kayak and traveling to Eastern Europe to meet another woman. His disappearance prompted a massive 54-day search effort. Authorities eventually uncovered evidence suggesting Borgwardt's scheme, including travel records indicating his movement across international borders. Investigators reported that Borgwardt admitted during questioning that his goal was to sell death to make his disappearance seem credible.
Just salacious details of public attention, that doesn't make for felony conduct.
In December 2024, Borgwardt voluntarily returned to the United States and surrendered to authorities in Green Lake County. He was charged with misdemeanor obstruction.
State of Wisconsin versus Ryan Borgwardt.
Legal experts have weighed in on the case, suggesting that while the obstruction charge is appropriate, pursuing additional charges such as insurance fraud may be challenging.
And unless there's some type of document that he wrote himself a note, or whether he admitted in a confession that he took out that insurance policy as part of this scheme to fake his own death.
The case has been referred to the district attorney's office for further review, and additional charges remain a possibility.
We have put our case together and referred it to the district attorney's office. They will review that and see if there's going to be any other charges or not.
My analysis of Wisconsin criminal law in this very particular circumstance leads me to believe that there is no on-point felony for faking your own death.
Following his return, Borgwardt's wife, Emily, filed for divorce, citing the irretrievable breakdown of their 22-year marriage. She also sought sole custody of their 2 sons and a daughter. underscoring the profound personal impact his actions had on their family.
Are you able to make any sort of statement?
Not at this time, thank you.
Her district attorney gave no statement. Borgwardt was released on a $500 signature bond. His initial court appearance was scheduled for January 13, 2025. Gregory Green's story is one of betrayal, second chances, and devastating consequences. Born and raised in Michigan, he appeared to live an ordinary life until a violent act changed everything. In 1991, Green was married to Tanya Clayton Green, who was pregnant. Their relationship had become strained, and Tanya had confided in friends that she was planning to leave him. Before she could, tragedy struck. One night, Green attacked his wife, ending both her life and that of their unborn. Afterward, he called 911, reported what had happened, and waited for authorities to arrive. Following his arrest, Green was charged with second-degree murder and sentenced to 15 to 25 years in prison. Throughout his time behind bars, he participated in rehabilitation programs, but parole boards repeatedly denied his release, citing concerns about his lack of remorse. However, after serving 16 years, he was granted parole in 2008, thanks in part to letters of support from Pastor Fred Harris, who believed Green deserved a second chance. Once released, Green became involved in the church community and eventually married Faith Harris Green, the daughter of the pastor who had helped secure his parole. They built a life together in Dearborn Heights, Michigan, raising 2 sons from Faith's previous relationship, Chadney and Cara, along with their 2 daughters, Coy and Callie. Outwardly, they seemed like a happy family, but cracks began to form in their marriage. In 2013, Faith sought a protection order, citing troubling behavior, though the request was denied. By 2016, she had filed for divorce, signaling that their relationship had reached a breaking point. On September 21st, 2016, Green's actions once again shattered lives. That night, he restrained Faith and injured her, making it impossible for her to intervene. He then targeted Chadney and Cara, and later harmed Coy and Callie. After carrying out his plan, he called 911, calmly reported what he had done, and waited on the porch for police to arrive. When authorities entered the home, they found Faith injured but alive, while the others did not survive. Green was swiftly arrested and charged with 4 counts of second-degree murder, assault, and torture. Rather than go to trial, he pleaded guilty in February 2017, accepting responsibility for his actions.
Mr. Green, is that time and date set for sentencing? Is there anything you'd like to say on your own behalf, sir?
I just want to say, well, first of all, thank God, only he can judge. I do regret and I'm sorry for what has happened. All I've ever wanted was a God-fearing, helpmate that would support me and be faithful no matter what. It was dedicated to the whole family. That put aside, I have to be humble, very humble, because God knows the heart. He knows how regretful, how sorry I am. And even now, after all this, he still has a plan. And I'm not giving that up, giving up on that plan. Because God is God. And there's not one day that go by that I don't think of my girls. Not one day, often picturing them playing and talking to their Heavenly Father. And, I pray that God be with Chadney and Cara. I feel bad for how this has deeply impacted everyone. And may God help them, help me, help us all.
During sentencing in March 2017, he expressed remorse.
Mr. Green, of all the tragic cases this court has seen, the fact of this one are by far the worst. Fathers are supposed to protect their children.
Yes.
Husbands are supposed to protect their wives. I didn't know how I would sit here this morning and get through listening to Ms. Green testify about what happened in this case. Yet I look at you and you appear utterly unmoved by everything that she said. Your actions are inconceivable and beyond understanding. I hope that the families affected by this tragedy can heal. As a practical matter, this court is confident that if I follow the sentence agreement in this case, you will never be released from prison. And rather than decide to, in the event I were to say, nope, this isn't enough, the family would be forced to take this to trial, and I don't want Ms. Green to ever have to endure what happened again. She already has to live with it every day. So for that reason, I'm going to follow the sentence agreement. I'm convinced that you will be incarcerated for the remainder of your life.
Thank you!
Hold on. That's practically speaking. With respect to counts 1 through 5, as I said, I am going to follow the sentence agreement. You're going to be sentenced to 45 to 100 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. Count 6 to 10 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. All will be consecutive or concurrent with one another and consecutive to count 10 for the felony firearm, which will be 2 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. You will receive credit for 161 days. You must pay $476 in state costs, crime victims assessment in the amount of $130, court costs in the amount of $1,300, attorney's fees in the amount of $400, and a $60 DNA fee. Since this was a conviction by plea, you can file an application for leave to appeal the conviction and sentence with the Court of Appeals.
The judge, deeply affected by the case, sentenced Green to 47 to 102 years in prison, ensuring he would not be eligible for parole until 2063, when he would be 97 years old. Faith confronted him in court, expressing the unimaginable pain he had caused. She called him a monster and made it clear that while justice had been served, nothing could undo the damage.
I'm not happy. I'm not satisfied with the outcome. There's no punishment that fits the crime. Not even torture and death would be justice. Your justice will come when you burn in hell for all eternity for murdering 4 innocent children, all because you're insecure as a man. Plus the other 2 lives you took. You are a con artist, you are a monster, you are a devil in disguise. You are now forever exposed. I've thought over and over again what I would say, even though it doesn't even matter. First of all, I am not and did not and will not suffer like you intended for me to do. What you tried to do didn't work. I am and was a damn great mother to all of my children. I was their mother and father. I'm the one who took out the time with each and every one of them. I taught them how to do things as well as people in my family and friends. I taught Chadney how to treat a woman with respect, how to fill out a job application, mock interviews, how to pay bills, encouraging him to give his all in his schooling, producing movies and his drawings. He was a great artist. He graduated from Specs Howard for digital media arts. He wanted to be a producer to make movies. I taught Kara to stay focused, aim high. I showed her how to drive, how a young lady is to carry herself in an orderly manner. Be all that you can be. Try out for everything that you're interested in doing. Pursuing higher education. We were filling out college applications. She wanted to be an OBGYN doctor. She was going to graduate this year from high school. I taught Coy to be open to new things like learning a new language, be confident in doing her schoolwork and in herself. She loved doing arts and crafts with me, letting her imagination run wild. She loved dressing up and putting on my high heels. She would make me laugh, looking at me over her glasses like a little old lady. She loved ballet, cheerleading, and planting flowers with me. My Kaylee had the greatest memory. She loved singing. She loved to carry her purse, which was always filled with hand sanitizer and lip gloss. She loved getting her nails painted and sometimes doing it herself. She also loved ballet and cheerleading. She loved balloons and playing outside. I taught them to be giving, loving, and respectful, to help others, to volunteer. They were not selfish children. Coy and Kaylee were learning about kids less fortunate than themselves. I took them with me to purchase items for Christmas and explained to them what we were doing to make them happy. I always encouraged them and told them that they can do anything they put their minds to do. Those are the lives that you took. You tried to separate them from each other. They are siblings who loved each other and spent time with one another. Trying to split them up didn't work. They are together more than ever. Chadney and Kara are still watching over the little sisters, Coy and Kaylee, forever. I carried each one of them in my womb for 9 months and raised them. Nothing or no one, sure as hell not you, can break me or break my bond with them. But while I stand up here trembling with fear, I put on my bravest face to be in the same room with the man who murdered all 4 of my children. 2 of them violently in front of me with Chadney and Kara. And he killed my other 2 babies, Coy and Kaylee, with a hose that ran from the tailpipe of his car to where they were innocently sleeping. As if that wasn't enough, let me tell you about some of the devastation that it has actually done to me and my family. My short-term memory is gone. Doctors tell me it's my brain protecting me from the memories of my children being shot in their heads right in front of me while I was gagged, duct taped, and zip tied. Every time I find strength to get out of bed, as soon as I walk, I'm in extreme pain, sharp pain, from where he shot me in my foot. They don't know if I'll ever walk again without pain. Think about that for a second. Never being able to again to walk without pain. My doctors say I have post-traumatic stress disorder. That's where the migraines and nightmares come from. Sometimes I dream of the night all this happened and wake up screaming and sweating, thinking that I can save my children somehow. Then I realize that the nightmare is actually reality and my children are really gone, and I try to find the strength to start my day somehow. Other times, there's just crazy nightmares that I wake up from in fear and try to understand them, but I'm told that they all link back to this horrific experience I have had. I can't think of the last time I really rested without medication. I can still feel the zip ties around my wrist, and it triggers horrible memories of that night. There's times I find myself drifting off into thought and then realize I'm not thinking of anything. I'm empty. Lost. I'm lost, not really knowing what to do with myself, just existing day to day. I miss my children so much that words will never be able to explain. All I ever wanted to be was a mother, a wife, have a happy family, raise my children to be productive members of society, and be happy. The reality I face now is this will never happen for me. Time will never heal this wound. I will always be empty. A part of me will always be missing. If the day ever comes when I do wake up and it's not the first thing that I think about, when I look in the mirror, I will always be reminded by the scars he put on my face, cutting me from my ears to my chin with a razor blade box cutter. The pain on the left side of my face never goes away. He cut me so deep that it severed multiple nerves that may never heal correctly. I lost so much blood. I was in critical condition for days. I should have died. Some days I wish I would have. He has scarred me for life. My whole family is devastated emotionally by what has happened. But it has extremely been hard on my parents. They love their grandchildren with all their hearts. Most days, my mother has a hard time getting out of bed and has been in the hospital a few times, but my father is taking it the hardest. He's not the same person he once was. The stress has taken a toll on his health. 2 weeks ago, he was taken to the hospital because he had a stroke. I honestly don't know where to go from here. I'm numb. There's a hole in my heart and soul that can never be repaired. The loss to me is so big that I will never truly recover for the rest of my life. I will be forever in pain and heartbreak. This wound will never heal. This wound will never heal.
The case sparked widespread debate about Michigan's parole system, with many questioning how a man with a violent past had been released. Faith has since become an advocate for domestic violence awareness, sharing her story to help others recognize warning signs in relationships. Gregory Green remains incarcerated, serving a sentence that will likely last the rest of his life. James Egan Holmes was born on December 13, 1987 in San Diego, California. He was known for his academic excellence and attended Westview High School, where he graduated in 2006. Holmes then pursued a bachelor's degree in neuroscience at the University of California, Riverside, earning his degree in 2010. His early academic success led him to enroll in a neuroscience PhD program at the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus in Aurora in June 2011. However, Over time, his behavior became increasingly erratic, raising concerns among those around him. As Holmes struggled with personal and academic pressures, he began purchasing firearms and large amounts of ammunition in the months leading up to July 2012. On June 10, 2012, he failed an oral exam at the university, which was a significant setback. Soon after, he withdrew from the PhD program, further isolating himself from academic and social circles. During this time, Holmes also booby-trapped his apartment with explosives, a discovery that would later pose a threat to law enforcement and nearby residents. On July 20th, 2012, Holmes carried out an attack during a midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises at the Century 16 movie theater in Aurora, Colorado. Dressed in tactical gear, he entered the theater, released tear gas canisters, and opened fire on the unsuspecting audience. The attack resulted in the deaths of 12 individuals and injuries to 70 others, making it one of the deadliest incidents in Colorado's history.
Okay, is this the Century 16 theater shooting?
I was hearing just a lot of popping sound, gunshots, and the movie was still playing and people were screaming.
Surveillance footage captured the moment that about half an hour after his arrival, people started hiding and fleeing due to the shooting. Holmes was arrested outside the theater near his car shortly after the attack. He surrendered without resistance and informed officers that his apartment was rigged with explosives. Authorities evacuated nearby residents and successfully disarmed the devices before they could cause harm. When asked what was on his mind when he committed the crime, he said,
"You're loading the car, you're getting stuff ready. What's going through your mind?" Just to get it done. Heart pumping, adrenaline racing, no. Calm, keyed up, calm and collected.
During his psychiatric evaluation, Holmes described his actions as a mission and acknowledged the fear experienced by those in the theater.
I heard a scream. You heard a scream? Yeah. Did you see anyone fall from being hit? No. Really? They got down kind of behind the seats pretty fast. You didn't see anyone actually hit by bullets or
I saw the one wounded guy they carried out.
What do people feel when they're experiencing that?
Terror, I would say.
Okay.
When asked how he wanted to be remembered, he stated,
"As mentally ill or different from the norm."
How else?
Being successful with the mission.
Legal proceedings followed, with Holmes being charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder and attempted murder. His defense team entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity, citing severe mental illness. The trial began on April 27, 2015, and lasted for several months. On August 7, 2015, Holmes was convicted on all charges, and the jury rejected the insanity defense.
Would the defendant please stand for the reading of the final sentencing verdict forms? Final sentencing verdict form. Count 1, murder in the first degree after deliberation. Jonathan Blanc, we the jury do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 2, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Alexander Boyk. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 3, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Jesse Childress. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 4, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Gordon Cowden. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 5, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Jessica Gowie. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 6, murder in the first degree after deliberation, John Larimer. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 7, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Matthew McQuinn. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 8, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Michaela Merrick. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 9, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Veronica Mosher Sullivan. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 10, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Alex Sullivan. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 11, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Alexander Teves. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count. Final sentencing verdict form, count 12, murder in the first degree after deliberation, Rebecca Wingo. We, the jury, do not have a unanimous final sentencing verdict on this count, and we, the jury, understand that as a result, the court will impose a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole on this count.
He received 12 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, along with an additional 3,318 years for attempted murders and explosives possession. Initially, Holmes was incarcerated at the Colorado State Penitentiary in Canyon City. However, due to security concerns, including an incident where he was assaulted by another inmate, he was later transferred to a high-security federal prison. He is currently serving his sentence at the United States Penitentiary, Allenwood, in Pennsylvania. Hussein Murray, a well-known jeweler and pawn shop owner in Rochester Hills, Michigan, lived a peaceful life with his wife, Linda. But in October 2024, their home became the target of a deception that led to a devastating crime. Two men, later identified as Carlos Jose Hernandez, and Joshua Zuazo, arrived at the Murray's doorstep posing as utility workers in need of access to their home. The first visit came on the evening of October 10th. Hernandez and Zuazo knocked on the Murray's door, claiming they were DTE Energy employees checking for a gas leak. Their unexpected arrival at such a late hour raised suspicion, and Hussein refused to let them in. The men left, but not before saying they would return the next day.
We're DTE. We're checking for gas leaks.
On the morning of October 11th, the two men returned, claiming they needed to inspect the furnace. This time, Hussein allowed them inside and led them to the basement, while Linda remained in the kitchen.
Okay, and who made the statement about what they were searching for the second time?
Mr. Hernandez.
Okay, and what do you recall him saying the second time?
He had to check something on the furnace.
Okay, and do you know where your furnace is located?
Yes.
And where was your furnace located?
In the basement.
What happened after they had said something about checking the furnace?
My husband went to go show them where the basement was.
Okay, and tell us the path that your husband took in the house to go towards the basement.
From the front door, he walked about 15 feet toward the kitchen, and then he turned left and went down the hallway to the basement door.
Okay. And who, if anybody, went with your husband?
Both Mr. Hernandez and Mrs. Zuago went with him.
Okay. What happened as your husband approached the door leading down to the basement?
Mr. Zuago went into the laundry room. I thought he would look for the gas leak by the dryer, but he didn't. And Mr. Hernandez said that he forgot his meter, and he had to go get it from the truck.
Okay, and at that point in time, had anybody started to go down into the basement?
No.
Okay, did Mr. Hernandez go someplace different after he made that statement?
I don't know exactly where he went. He went to toward the front door.
Okay, and your husband was still there with the defendant Zuazo at that point?
Yes.
And how long would you say it was after defendant Hernandez walked away that he returned? How much time do you think went by?
A minute, less than a minute.
Okay. When he returned, did you notice any type of meter in his hand or anything different than you had seen before?
No.
What happened after Mr. Defendant Hernandez had returned?
My husband and Mr. Zuago started going down into the basement, and Mr. Hernandez was behind them.
Okay, so your husband was leading the way down the stairs.
Uh-huh.
Is that correct?
Yes.
And behind him was Defendant Zuazo?
Yes.
And behind him was Defendant Hernandez?
Yes.
And where did you go when they proceeded down the stairs?
Went back into the kitchen to finish making breakfast.
Okay. In your best estimate, how much time do you think they were downstairs before somebody came up the stairs?
I'm going to say about maybe 10, 15 minutes.
Okay.
After 10 to 15 minutes, the men returned alone, but Hussein was missing. When Linda asked about her husband, they avoided giving a clear answer and instead demanded valuables, insisting on knowing where the safe and cash were kept.
What happens once both defendants are up the stairs?
Mr. Hernandez asks me, where is the safe? And I said, we don't have one. And then he said, where is the jewelry? And I said, in a bank at the safety deposit box.
Okay, when he says this, because you're seated some distance away from the top of the stairs, did you stand up at that point?
Yes.
Okay. When you stood up, did you close the gap to the defendants, or did they close the gap on you?
I don't recall.
Okay. How close is Defendant Hernandez when he asks you, where is the safe?
The first time it was about a couple feet.
Okay. And what's the response after you indicate you don't have a safe and the jewelry is in a safety deposit box? What happens then?
He asks me, where is the money?
And when you say he, you're talking about
Mr. Hernandez.
Defendant Hernandez. Okay. What did you say about where is the money?
I said that all we have in the house is what I have in my purse and what my husband has in his pocket.
Okay. Do you recall how much cash approximately you had in your purse that morning?
About 300.
Okay. And your husband would also, as habit, carry cash on him?
Yes.
Would he carry, I mean, I hate to say a normal amount of cash, because normal can depend very much on who you are. How much cash would he usually have?
About 5,000.
Okay. Where did you have your cash that morning? Where did you keep it?
In my purse on the kitchen table.
Okay. And did you tell Defendant Hernandez the cash was in your purse?
Yes.
What did you see happen after you said your cash is in your purse?
Again, he asked me, where is the jewelry and where is the cash?
Okay. And what was your response then?
The same, that the jewelry wasn't in the house and we didn't have cash except what I told him.
Okay. And what happened next?
I started asking, where's my husband? Where's my husband? And I didn't get a response. And when Mr. Zuazo came up the stairs, I saw blood on his vest. And I started screaming. And Mr. Hernandez hit me in the face to shut me up.
When Defendant Hernandez hit you on the face, what side of the face did he strike you on?
The left.
Okay. Did you sustain an injury from that?
Yes.
Did you sustain an injury that required medical treatment later?
Yes.
It was a hard hit.
Yes.
What happened after you were struck?
He asked me, before he removed his hand from my mouth, he asked me if I would stop screaming. And I said yes. And he sat me at the kitchen table.
Okay. Did either of them respond to you about what your husband was doing downstairs?
No.
Okay. What happened then?
I take that what I just said back, because I was asking where's my husband, and Mr. Zuago said he was sleeping.
Okay. Okay. Where was Defendant Zuazo when this was taking place?
He was upstairs in the master bedroom.
Okay. What happens after your duct tape?
Mr. Zuago was upstairs in the master bedroom, and I could hear the drawers hitting the floor. And then Mr. Hernandez was kind of nonchalant and opened one of the drawers in the kitchen, kind of looked at it and shut it. And Mr. Zuago came down the stairs from upstairs.
Again, we understand you're not timing things, but what's your best estimate how long Defendant Zuazo was upstairs before he returned from upstairs?
As panic set in, Linda noticed blood on Zuazo's vest. Before she could react, Hernandez silenced her, and she was restrained with duct tape while the men searched the house for valuables.
What happens after Defendant Hernandez tells you to stop yelling and screaming?
He sits me at the kitchen table.
Okay. What happens to you while you're seated at the table?
He takes my watch off, my iPhone watch.
When you say he, again?
Mr. Hernandez, I'm sorry.
Okay. And then what happens? He takes your watch off?
Yes, he takes my watch off and puts it across the table where I could not reach it. And takes my cell phone and puts it in his pocket.
Okay. Then what happens?
Then he asks me if I have the car keys. And I said they're connected to my purse. So he takes the car keys to my car.
Okay. And what kind of car were you driving?
Infinity.
Okay. When you say he took the keys, is it keys on a fob? Is it just a fob? How do you describe that?
The keys were attached to my purse.
Okay. The keys themselves, did it have keys to the house on there, or was it just the car fob?
No, it had the house key.
So you saw Defendant Hernandez take those items?
Yes.
Did you see anybody go through your purse?
Mr. Hernandez did.
Okay. And did you see him take cash from your purse?
Yes.
What happens after he's taken the cash from your purse?
That part's a little foggy, but I know that he taped up my legs together with duct tape, black duct tape, and my wrists together.
Okay. When you say he, Don't. It's okay. It's natural. It's not natural to testify. It's natural to talk.
Mr. Hernandez.
Yes. Okay. And you said it was black duct tape.
Yes.
Was that duct tape that you had in your house?
No.
What parts of your body were taped up by Defendant Hernandez?
My ankles together and my wrists together.
Okay.
Zuazo rummaged through the master bedroom, looking for anything valuable. After taking Linda's watch, phone, car keys, and cash, they left through the garage. Once the house fell silent, Linda managed to free herself and called for help. When authorities arrived, they found Hussein in the basement, deceased. The police wasted no time in tracking down the suspects. Hernandez was arrested on October 12th in Shreveport, Louisiana, and extradited back to Michigan. Just days later, on October 14th, Zuazo was apprehended in Plymouth Township, Michigan. Both men were formally charged with felony murder, home invasion, and unlawful imprisonment. As the case moved forward, Linda bravely took the stand during the preliminary hearing on December 17, 2024. She recounted the terrifying events that unfolded in her home, providing crucial testimony against the two men. Investigators presented key evidence, including medical reports and items recovered from the crime scene. The medical examiner determined the severe injuries as the cause of death of Hussein.
So evidence of injury is a lot blunt force injury to the head, which are contusions, bruisings to the face, lacerations around the jaw, around the left side of the scalp and the back of the scalp, and he had fractures of his bone.
When you're talking about neck compression, how long would it take for that compression to last to cause death?
It depends on the state of the person. He's tied up, he's older. He probably can't struggle and fight back much, so I'd say a matter of minutes, like less than 10 minutes, I would say.
By the end of the hearing, the court ruled that Hernandez and Zuazo would stand trial. As of December 2024, both men remain in custody, awaiting trial, with their next court date still to be scheduled. The case has since raised serious concerns about home security, as criminals continue to use impersonation tactics to gain access to unsuspecting victims. In response, DTE Energies has urged residents to always verify the identity of service workers before allowing them inside. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.